Ladies and gentlemen, South Africa is under siege, not from guns or helicopter gunships, but from something far more insidious, a creeping agenda to turn our rainbow nation into an Islamic state, driven by none other than the ANC, the very party that promised us freedom but has delivered corruption, chaos, and now a dangerous flirtation with ideologies that threaten everything we hold dear. You heard that right, folks. The ANC, the self-proclaimed champions of liberation, are cozying up to forces that could unravel the very constitution they swore to protect. Are you ready to unpack this mess? Let's get stuck in. It is July 2025, and the Electoral Commission of South Africa, IEC, has just slammed the brakes on a group called the Islamic State of Africa. Yes, you heard that name correctly, trying to register as a political party. This isn't some fringe book club. This is a group led by Fahad Huma, a Durban businessman with a rap sheet that includes allegations of running an ISIS cell and funding terror across southern Africa. The IEC said, "No way, mate," and rejected their application faster than you can say Sharia law. Why? Because they couldn't scrape together 300 signatures from registered voters. Their public notice was published in some dodgy, low-circulation rag, and over 200 objections poured in from South Africans who saw through their nonsense. But here's the kicker. This isn't just about one nutter with a bad idea. This is a symptom of a much bigger, much uglier problem, one that points straight to the ANC's doorstep. Let's rewind a bit. South Africa is a country built on diversity, with 85% of us identifying as Christian and less than 2% as Muslim. Our constitution is a global gold standard, guaranteeing equality, freedom of religion, and a secular state where no one ideology can hijack the show. So when a group like the Islamic State of Africa, with its logo of an upward-pointing hand and a slogan about freeing all of mankind, starts banging on about implementing Sharia law, you'd expect the government to laugh it off, right? Wrong. The ANC, the party that's been running this country into the ground for decades, has been playing footsie with some of the most questionable players on the global stage. Hamas, Iran, Qatar. And it's starting to look like they're not just shaking hands but passing brown envelopes under the table. Don't believe me? Stick around, because the facts are about to hit you like a ton of bricks. Let's talk about Fahad Huma, the poster boy for this fiasco. This creature's not just some random chancer. He was arrested in 2018 for a knife attack at a mosque in Verulam that left a man dead. Charges were dropped, but the US Department of the Treasury wasn't buying his act. In 2022, they slapped him with sanctions, calling him a specially designated global terrorist. His businesses? Allegedly fronts for funding terror operations. And yet, this is the guy who thought he could waltz into South African politics with a party named after ISIS, pushing for Sharia law that would have women out of work and under government handouts, all while claiming it's about liberating mankind. Sounds like a proper liberation, doesn't it? Who's buying this rubbish? The IEC, to their credit, saw through the charade. They pointed out that Huma's Islamic State of Africa didn't just fail to meet basic requirements, their whole shtick was a slap in the face to our constitution. Sharia law, with its track record of gender inequality and religious intolerance, doesn't exactly scream Ubuntu or align with our Bill of Rights. Over 200 objections flooded in, from ordinary South Africans and some institutions. They all said the same thing. This party's a danger to our democracy. And yet, Huma had the cheek to cry foul, claiming he'd met all the requirements and planning to appeal. Good luck with that, mate. Maybe try a country where the Constitution isn't sacred. But here's where it gets really spicy. Why on earth would anyone think a group like this could even get close to the political stage? The answer lies in the ANC's dodgy dealings and their long history of turning a blind eye to extremism. Let's connect the dots. The ANC has been palling around with Hamas, the militant group running Gaza, since the 1990s. They've hosted Hamas delegations, including one in Johannesburg in December 2023, right before South Africa filed that ICJ case accusing Israel of genocide in Gaza. Coincidence? I don't think so. Then there's Iran, a country that's been pouring money and influence into Africa, including South Africa, through so-called humanitarian outfits like the Iranian Red Crescent and Al Mustafa International University. These aren't just charities, folks. They're soft power tools pushing Iran's agenda. And don't get me started on Qatar, whose trade with South Africa has skyrocketed from $307 million to nearly $1 billion in a decade. Money talks, and the ANC's listening. Speaking of money, let's talk about the ANC's miraculous financial recovery. In 2022, they were so broke they couldn't pay their staff, owing over 500 million rands in debts. Staff were protesting outside Lutuli House, and the party was staring down the barrel of bankruptcy. Then, out of nowhere, in January 2024, Cyril Ramaphosa announces, "Hey, we've stabilized our finances!" No explanation, no transparency, just a smug smile and a wave. This was right after South Africa filed the ICJ case against Israel following meetings with Iranian, Qatari, and Hamas officials. A report from the Institute for the Study of Global Anti-Semitism and Policy, ISGAP, in November 2024, dropped a bombshell. They claimed the ANC got a massive financial lifeline from Iran and Qatar to push the ICJ case, which cost an estimated $10.5 million to initiate and $79 million in total legal fees. Where did that cash come from, Cyril? Why won't you show us the books? The ANC's refusal to disclose its funding is a scandal in itself. South African law demands transparency under the Political Party Funding Act, but the ANC's acting like it's above the law. The IEC launched an investigation in March 2024 into how the ANC settled its debts, but we're still waiting for answers. Meanwhile, posts on X from users like Henmatzig and Tonist Reporting are screaming what we're all thinking. The ANC's been bought. Foreign Minister Naledi Pandor's cozy chats with Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh and Iranian officials in 2023, Ramaphosa's trip to Qatar, and a Hamas delegation waltzing into Johannesburg. It's a pattern, folks, and it's not a pretty one. Now, let's be clear, I'm not saying every Muslim in South Africa is part of this. The Muslim community here is diverse, vibrant, and overwhelmingly committed to our democracy. Groups like Al-Jama'ah, a proper Muslim political party, play by the rules and respect the constitution. They've got seats in parliament and work for all South Africans, not just one religious group. Compare that to Huma's lot, who couldn't even muster 300 signatures, and whose ideology was so toxic that even mainstream Muslim leaders like Saeed from the Muslim community said, "Nah, mate, you don't speak for us." The problem isn't Islam. It's the ANC's willingness to let extremists like Huma get a foot in the door while pocketing cash from foreign powers with their own agendas. And what about that ICJ case? The ANC loves to bang on about Gaza being apartheid too, comparing Palestinians to black South Africans under the old apartheid regime. But let's get real. Apartheid was a system of racial segregation inside one country, with black South Africans stripped of citizenship and confined to Bantustans. Gaza's a territorial dispute between two peoples, with Hamas firing rockets and Israel hitting back hard. It's messy, it's tragic, but it's not apartheid. The ANC's pushing this narrative to score points with anti-Western allies like Iran and Qatar, and it's dragging South Africa into a geopolitical quagmire. Worse, their legal team included guys like Shawan Jabarin and Raji Surani, who've got ties to the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, a group labeled as terrorists by half the world. What's that about, ANC? Why are you rolling with people who've done time for terror-related charges? Here's where the anger kicks in, folks. The ANC's not just failing us, they're selling us out. Corruption's been their brand for years, from state capture under Zuma to this latest stench of foreign cash. They've let our police service rot. Allegations of corruption in SAPS are piling up, and our counter-terrorism efforts are a joke. The US is so fed up they're investigating the ANC under the Magnitsky Act for possible bribery by Iran. And what's the cost? Our economy's taking a hit. America's already cut aid, and we could lose access to AGOA, which means job losses and more hardship for ordinary South Africans. All because the ANC's too busy playing global politics. So, what's the deal with this Sharia push? The Islamic State of Africa's failure is a win, but it's a warning shot. The ANC's ties to Iran and Hamas, their silence on human rights abuses in those places while screaming about Israel and their sudden cash windfall, it all points to a dangerous game. Iran's been sniffing around Africa for years, setting up cultural institutes and pushing Sharia-compliant finance through groups like the Islamic Finance Board and Al-Baraka Bank. Hamas, meanwhile, gets a free pass from the ANC, who call them freedom fighters while ignoring their authoritarian grip on Gaza. If we don't watch out, these influences could creep into our laws, our schools, our communities. Sound far-fetched? Ask yourself, if the ANC's willing to take money from Iran and Qatar, what's stopping them from letting foreign ideologies sneak in the back door? South Africans, we can't sit back and let this happen. Our constitution is our shield, but it's only as strong as the people defending it. The IEC did its job, but the ANC's failures are piling up faster than potholes on the N1. Crime's out of control, corruption's eating us alive, and now we've got to worry about our government selling our democracy to the highest bidder. What's it going to take for us to say, enough is enough? Are we going to let the ANC turn South Africa into a pawn for foreign powers, or are we going to stand up for the values that make us who we are? Here's the thing, we're not helpless. We can demand transparency. Why won't the ANC show us their funding? We can support institutions like the IEC that hold the line against extremism. We can call out the ANC's hypocrisy, their selective outrage, their cozy deals with regimes that don't give a toss about human rights. This isn't about religion. It's about protecting our democracy from those who'd sell it out for a quick buck. So, what can you do right now? First, talk about this. Share this story with your mates, your family, your WhatsApp groups. Ask them, do we want a South Africa where Sharia law or any extremist ideology gets a foothold? Second, hold the ANC accountable. Demand they open their books and explain where their money's coming from. And third, support the fight to keep South Africa free. Join community groups, back civil society, and make your voice heard. This isn't just a news story, it's a wake-up call. Are you listening? We're at a crossroads, folks. The ANC's failures have brought us here. Corruption, crime, and now this flirtation with ideologies that could tear our country apart. The Islamic State of Africa may have been stopped, but the ANC's ties to Iran, Hamas, and Qatar are a red flag we can't ignore. Our democracy's not a toy for foreign powers to play with, and it's not a piggy bank for a corrupt party to raid. South Africa deserves better. We deserve leaders who put us first, not their bank accounts. So, here's my challenge to you. Don't just sit there fuming. Join the fight. Hit that subscribe button, give this a like, share it far and wide, and drop a comment with your thoughts. Let's get this conversation going. It costs you nothing. Takes 2 seconds and could make a world of difference. If you're feeling extra passionate, join our channel membership or drop a super thanks to keep this content coming. And please, let those ads play for at least 30 seconds. It's a small way to support the truth getting out there. Do it now, South Africa. Let's take our country back.